Hey guys, I just wanted to show you my new vehicle. That's right, it's a 1997 Jeep Wrangler. I've always wanted one of these, but my rational side made me stay away from it. They're really good looking cars. I've always liked the Jeep Wranglers, and if I was to ever think of Jeep, this is what I think of. It's just the iconic style of Jeeps. And keep in mind, this is a cult car, but yet I don't know much about Jeeps, so I'm kind of looking at the Jeep from a guy that's more rational when he buys vehicles that are long-lasting and durable. And I don't know much about these Jeeps, but I'm starting to think that they're extremely durable. Let's look around. This one is a 1997 Jeep Wrangler SE, and unfortunately it's got the 4-cylinder engine. The 6-cylinder is the one that everybody seems to like, but I kind of like the 4 cylinders because if I get a Jeep, honestly I'm not really getting it for off-roading, which is kind of like what a lot of people like. I'm more into like the beach going, putting the top down, and if the 4-cylinder gives me better gas, I'd rather have that. So the 4-cylinder is more known with, I guess women prefer the 4-cylinder. It's kind of a cliche, but it seems that a lot of guys go after the 6-cylinder. The 6-cylinder is the really popular one because it has plenty of power. And I just bought this, and when I was driving this thing, I didn't think I would like it. I think it would be kind of like this weird car, but man, as soon as I got in it and I started driving, I automatically kind of fell in love with this car. It is a fantastic little thing. I had no idea that these little Jeeps were so fun. And that's what it is. It's extremely fun. I've always thought, okay, these are cars that people just kind of ride off-road and that they're unreliable. But the more research I do is that this one's got 180,000 miles. So that's fairly reliable. That's up there in Toyota mileage land. And they still fetch for quite some time. So this one, it's about a $5,000 car. It's got the 4-cylinder engine, which is not as sought after, but it's such a really cool looking car, and I had no idea that it would be as fun. And I think what I like about it is that it's very toy-like. It feels like a toy, you know, like when kids see this, it's kind of like the way they see a motorcycle. When kids see a motorcycle, they automatically kind of look. That's how I feel about this car. It's that sort of car. It just feels like it's a car that it brings out the inner kid in a person. And I can see why people are so drawn to this. Since I'm more of a Toyota fanboy, Honda fanboy, I don't know much about these. And when I'm taking you over this car, keep that in mind, because even though I really like the looks of it, I'm kind of looking at it from a viewpoint of a rational experience that people would get a car just from A to B. And when I look at this, it doesn't seem like it's a great A to B car, but this is more of an emotional sort of car. It brings out something in people, and I think as soon as I started driving this thing, it did bring a certain passion in me for this car. So let's look around. This TJ, I think it's made from 1997, and this is the first year, all the way to 2002, I believe, something like that. So don't quote me on it, but I love how simple it is. And I have a Lamborghini Tractor, and this kind of reminds me of the type of machinery of a Lamborghini Tractor. Look at this. It's just a little rubber thing, and it's really cool. I like the fact that they didn't put like a cable and all of that. And yeah, you have to lift it up here. So there's a little bit of a leak in the engine, but it's not bad at all. It's actually fairly clean here. One of my things is I'm going to clean this thing up because I do like this thing quite a bit. Actually, I like it more than what I was expecting. And it's the type of car that, you know, if you want to take a girl out on a date and you go out in the countryside, this is a pretty cool car for it. It's kind of like a cool convertible. You know, oftentimes convertibles are not that cool, but this one is. Look at the tires, they're absolutely new. There's a little bit of a cracking from age on here. I think this is, yeah, this is glass, which I always pay attention to that. I see a lot of the newer Jeeps, they have the LEDs. That would be something I'd probably be doing with this. But I love how this is just a brick. You know, it's just a brick through the air. That's why it gets horrible gas mileage. And I think you don't want to go any faster than 70 miles an hour on this thing. Look at the bumper. It looks like it's taken a little bit of a hit. And I think it'll be kind of interesting to compare it to the engineering of Toyota and stuff like that. The top is surprisingly in very good shape. I think it's a recent one. I think he paid $700 just for it. And this is fading. I think it should be black. I'm going to see if I can fix that. This is straight out of like trailers and tractors. I actually think it's kind of cool. It's got a hitch. Looks like he put some wax on the tire. And of course, you got a little door here. And this thing is surprisingly heavy to move. So I'll be cleaning this up. It's like a big door, man. This is like, oh, it's so heavy. Ugh. Yeah, it is heavy. This one is equipped with a rack. The previous owner used to take canoes up here. I think I'm going to sell this. So if you guys want a top 5 rack, let me know. I just don't feel I need this for anything. I won't be carrying stuff on the top unless I carry my bicycle, but I got better vehicles for that. Let's look inside really quick. So, you know, the door is just so flimsy, and you know, this is the, I guess, all right, that's the stop. Yeah, there's some dirt and stuff. I'll be like detailing this. The top is new. So when I first got in this thing, I asked the guy, like, how do you roll down the windows? And this is the way you roll down the windows. I mean, it was pretty stupid of me to ask. When I was looking back, I was quite embarrassed, but yeah, it just uses zippers, and this is a plastic. I'm actually not even interested in keeping the doors unlocked, because, you know, somebody could just rip this, and that's probably more expensive. Just don't keep valuables in there. This seat, unfortunately, is pretty ripped up. Look at that. This is something I see in a lot of cars, but this car is especially bad. You know, the thing is, you just get I'm going to get another seat cover. There's no point of trying to fix the seat. And there is a way to climb in there, and then you actually have a little bit of a hole here. This makes it a little bit difficult to get inside the car. And I think the reason is that so water does not get in there when you're like mudding. So that's something that a lot of owners do. Let me see if I can. You have a rear bench seat, and I guess it looks pretty good. I don't really plan on using it. In a way, I kind of prefer not to have it. And it's just kind of dirty. I'll be cleaning this up, but I'm going to be enjoying this car for a little bit. It's quite a trick car. And you have a steering wheel, which is good. Comes with a steering wheel. And here's the thing, like, I was honking at a car that made a U-turn in front of me, and I was like honking like crazy. And I was like honking and honking, and I was pushing these sides, and apparently it just doesn't work from the sides. You have to get it right in the middle. And by the time the guy made a U-turn, it just looks like I was honking at nobody. So that was a little disappointing. There is some damage here, scratches. This is not very good plastic, and I don't know, it's got some weird quirks that I don't know much. So it's got like the locks, seems like, but all of this is in pretty bad shape. I wonder if the guy used to do any mudding or off-roading. That would explain it. You have your headlights here, so if you want your regular beams, you just push it in once. Then if you want high beams, you push it twice. Really antiquated. You know, the plastic here is the cheapest I've ever seen in a car. And to make a signal, it actually takes quite a bit. Like when I was first signaling, I was going like this. and it wouldn't give me a signal, but it's like quite a bit of a chunky way of signaling. I know it's this is more like a truck than it is a car, but I thought it was kind of strange that it was that difficult to signal. You have your hazards up here. How do you even use it? You push it down. Oh, you push it to the side. So that's another really quirky thing about this Jeep. Normally, even on Fords, you have a push-in button, and it's usually here on older Fords. You push it in, and that's the hazard. This one, you actually push it aside. That's very quirky. It is very simple. It's very Spartan, which I like. I like Spartan cars. You know, that's the thing with the cars that I get. I try to get roll-down windows. There's nothing special about this car when it comes to creature comforts. So I'm kind of curious, it's like, why are women getting this car? I would imagine they would want more amenities, but there's something really beautiful about a very simple car like this. And in a way, like, the Jeep is so simple. Everything about this thing is so simple, so easy to work on, that it seems like you can do maintenance like with a hammer. And it feels very much like an old tractor from World War II. I have a Lamborghini Tractor from, I think it's like early 80s in Europe. And it feels like it's almost the same pieces. It feels very similar, the way they build things. And actually, when you drive this thing, it does feel like a kind of like a tractor-like vehicle. It's fun. It's a fun, slow vehicle. You know, you're not going to be... And I can see why a lot of parents get these cars for their kids, because it's a car that you're not going to get into serious trouble from speed anyway. You're going to get into serious trouble by off-roading it, I think. But it's a really kind of a quirky, fantastic car. And this is at the state of not being clean. I just got it home. So the radio works, you know, that's always a plus. But look at that, a tape deck, and then you have some other quirky things. Let's start the car. It's a very different noise that most of the vehicles make. So I'm going to push in the clutch. It's a little hard starting, which is kind of funny. So it starts right up though, but I heard it cranks a little bit difficult, a little bit hard sometimes. So I don't quite know. This thing kind of wastes gas like crazy. I filled it up to half. It's already like 1/4 done. Here's an interesting thing. It might be a little bit hard to see. So one of the things that is up here is a gear change light. And when you're shifting through the gears, when it thinks you should be shifting for optimal efficiency, it lights up an arrow. But the problem is, when you're driving, and I'm 5'9", you actually don't see it here because of the steering wheel. So it's a terrible design. I don't know what they were thinking about when they built this. And the steering wheel does not tilt or telescope, as far as I know. So when you're looking at that arrow, I have to kind of crouch down to kind of see it. I only saw it by luck, so it's a very simple thing. It just reminds me of a tractor. So right over here, you have your battery. That's your battery gauge right there. And then you have your fuel gauge. There's a fuel dummy light there, your brake light, your tach, your speedo, and you have a digital odometer and trip right there, which is actually kind of nice. I wasn't expecting that. Even though this is a 97, on a Toyota or Honda, you would have a little bit more digital readouts. So you have your speedo, you have your oil temperature gauge, and then you have your coolant temperature. These plastics are extremely cheap and they seem like they would break off. The radio works, but it's just a very odd radio. So you have the balance down here, and that's the middle. Then you have your volume, and then your tuner. But the tape deck is kind of a retro style. The AC blows nice and cold, but also this is something I've seen in Hondas, these little dials. So every time you see a car that uses dials like this to move the AC, they tend to break. and this one is broken, so I'll have to try and fix that. There are these optional buttons for accessories. You have a cigarette lighter down here, you have your cigarette tray, and everything about this is like the plastic is very cheap, cheaper than most Japanese cars by far. And here we go. This is the gem. I love the 5-speed version. The shifting is actually surprisingly good on this. I would think that somehow it would be clunky, but it actually enters the gears really well. The thing is, this is kind of coming off right now. I'll see if I can kind of pull it up. This is just very truck-like. I don't know why, it's just falling. And this, that's your 4-wheel drive. So this is kind of cool. Right now it's on 2-wheel drive. Most people are going to be driving it on 2-wheel drive. Then you have 4H, neutral, and then 4-low. 4-low is going to be your 4-wheel drive off-road sort of option. But here you have your handbrake, and everything about this is extremely hard. Like, you have to eat some Wheaties in order to get this thing going. And here is a very deep storage compartment that needs to be cleaned out. And of course you have all the other stuff here, manuals, the glove box. You do have this rail here, and the reason you have this apparently is that your passengers are going to be holding on to that when you're driving off-road. That's kind of trick. And look at the little windshield. Oh, by the way, this is really odd. This is just something I think specific to Jeep. So this is your windshield wiper. Can you see that? Works. Very short, flat windscreen. But most cars, when you want the windshield fluid to start, you push it in, and this doesn't work. So I was like, how do I clean it? But apparently you have to go up and then back. So I don't think that's, I'm so used to Japanese cars being all the same that I forgot that different cars have different quirks. So guys, that is my 1997 TJ Jeep Wrangler, my first Jeep. And I thought that I would kind of hate it, but I really like it. I really like this Jeep, and I think this is kind of like a keeper. Yeah, I like this thing quite a bit, and I'm planning on doing some light off-roading. I'm not going to do any Jeep crawler type of events, but this is a 4-cylinder, so I'm just kind of like interested in having it as a summer car, because it is kind of like a cool convertible. Most of the time convertibles look a little bit whimsical, and this thing, I don't know, it feels like a toy in a grown-up world. So I think this is kind of a cool car for most people. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.